Hi, my babies. So, today we're going to talk about wrath and anger, which is the third sin that we're going over. We've gone over pride and envy. So, we're going to deal with wrath. Remember, we're in this series of cleansing ourselves so we could be better vessels for the Lord. If we cleanse ourselves of the things that hinder us, God puts in the things that He needs in us. So we have to get all this gook out, all that nastiness, all that ugliness. We've got to get it out so God can restore us. So today we're going to talk about wrath and anger. I encourage you to go back over pride and envy. And then, of course, today the anger. And then just remember, we still have 4 more to go through. Then the next series is a Proverbs 31 woman. And then, of course, the fruit of the spirits, which is the opposite of the 7 sins. So my lesson for wrath and anger, which remember I told you how God's just doing these amazing things for me. I end up going through a very current situation to whatever is relevant to whatever I'm teaching that day. And this one I've been working on for a couple days. So it's just interesting how I've had to deal with that for the past couple of days. And the crazy thing is, I wrote notes on this because there was so much information and anger. I was like, oh my God, I've got to give you guys all of this stuff. But as I wrote all this stuff and I was studying it and I was rereading it, I couldn't help but relate it to what I was going through. And you know what? I can probably use my notes, but I'm not going to go through all of it, read it verbatim as I had wrote it, because I want it to be more authentic. What I learned over the last couple of days is our anger. Our anger will cause us to act out irrationally. It'll suppress feelings. It'll lash out at the wrong people. It will impair our judgment. It will cloud our thoughts. It will blind us. And it will hurt us. Anger is a very intense emotion. It's erratic. It's selfish. It's hurtful. It's thoughtless. It's destructive. And those are the more aggressive signs of it. Not the passive, because we have a passive side of anger and we have a more aggressive side of anger. One of the things that I said today on another video was that my grandmother used to tell me to shut my mouth and open my ears. And it's something that I tell people a lot of times because it relates to anger so much that when you're angry, you refuse to hear what's right. You refuse to see what's right. You refuse to see the truth. You refuse to see the light. You refuse to even care because it's anger. And when we relate anger to our situations, ourselves, or somebody else, we realize that anger is covering up some deeply, deeply rooted hurt. It could be a lie that somebody told you that you didn't expect them to do. It could be somebody hurting you by cheating. Somebody could say something against you. Somebody could do something to you. But either way, anger comes from deeply, deeply, deeply rooted hurt. And beneath all of that hurt, there's the truth. But as a defense mechanism, instead of facing the truth, we throw up these walls. And these walls create division. And the higher we build the wall, the more we put it on top of the problem, the issue. So how is anger really a sin? Because when we're angry, we're not acting out of love. We are trying to self-justify our actions. That's not acting out of love. You can't care for somebody. You can't trust anybody because you've got so much anger. And part of our walk, our growth, is loving more, trusting more, accepting more, and being more supportive. So we can't do that if we've got anger built up in us, because anger takes away all of that. And once we can release that anger and accept the truth, then we can replace it with all the right stuff. So, like I said, it becomes the sin when it causes you to do bad things, when it causes you to act out in a negative way, when it causes you to be hurtful to somebody. My son, my baby boy, he is the one child that is good at masking his anger and his hurt. He's very passive until he's deeply, deeply bothered is when you know. Now, because I'm his mother, I can look at my son and be like, no, something's wrong with you. And he'll tell me all day long, no, I'm good. No, I'm good. And I can look at him like, no, you're lying. He's the complete opposite of my daughter. If she's mad, you're going to know she's mad. Troy, he's not so much going to tell you he's mad. He's not really going to show it. But the thing is, he lets it fester so much. And he's so passive till he's a ticking bomb. And then when something happens, he reacts. And I call it like his Jekyll and Hyde moment. Like, my son is 6'3" and skinny, and he's strong as an ox. That's just because he lifts weights and he plays sports. But imagine that anger and that strength when he releases it, because he's kept it bottled up. And I always tell him, baby, just talk. Tell me what's going on. He doesn't. And see, what I learned while we're going through this walk, one, just for us, when we let our issues stay festering inside of us, we build up resentment and we build up anger towards whoever we feel like caused it, sometimes towards innocent people. However, we let it stay bottled up, and it creates a problem. Now we're lashing out at everybody, and we can't hear. We can't be receptive. And when you're angry like that, you can't hear from God. So you have to release that anger in a constructive way so you can get where you need to be. I used to be a fighter. And when I used to fight, one of the things that I did was, I don't want to talk. There's nothing to talk about. I just feel like laying hands on you, so that's what I'm going to do. You said or did something out the way. There's nothing else to talk about. I'm just going to lay my hands on you. That's why my grandmother used to say, close your mouth and open your ears. How many times does somebody say something to us and we're in such a defense mode that we don't hear what they're saying. So instead of hearing what they say, we turn around and get angry. We're ready to lash out at them. We're ready to fight them. But it's the truth. It's the truth. There's times when somebody can come back to me and they can say something, the new me now, I'll replay that conversation over and over and over again, and then I'll be like, you know what? You're right. Or somebody can say something, and I'll be like, let me make sure I heard that correctly. Let me make sure I feel the correct way about that. Because it may be something I'm not even supposed to get angry about. Maybe it's something I need to know. Now, when we take and replace that anger within us, and we replace it with love, now we can handle the next person that we are dealing with that has anger issues. Because we know right now, the opposite of anger is love. So if that person is angry when they're talking to you, you give them more love. Love always supersedes anger. You love them, you pray for them. But you don't retaliate with anger. I had to write the verse down because y'all know me, I'm not very good with verses. I could find it all day long, but I can't tell you the name off the top of my head like that. But Proverbs 15:1 says, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. I have a 22-year-old son who is very dominant, very opinionated, and very protective of his family. I love his character. However, he's also very boisterous, and he'll speak before he thinks. So something that he said to me the other day, because he questioned me about something, and I just said, well, you're a little bit objective, and sometimes you've got to be creative with your objectiveness. And my son is very male-mannered. He's very malleable with his speech. You know, he talks at a very calm level, angry or not angry. But again, because I'm his mom, I know the difference between the angry and the different angry. Because while he doesn't change his tone, he enunciates words a little differently. So, anyways, he was very opinionated in how he felt, and he wanted to keep talking. And I remember saying, I don't want to talk about this right now. And he just kept on, and I said, son, let it go. We'll talk about it later. And he kept on, and he kept on. And normally, he can get a rouse out of me because he'll sit there and keep nitpicking until I just blow up. This day, my daughter came and actually is like, just shut up. Just leave it alone. Later, when he thought about it, he came back to me and he said, Mom, why are you always so calm now? He says, even when I want to talk, you don't want to talk. You're just like, we'll talk later. And I said, son, I'm more calm now because two of us being hot-headed is not going to solve the issue. I'm more calm now because I have to hear exactly what you're trying to relay to me. I said, I'm more calm now because when I'm angry, I say things that I don't mean. So when I tell you I don't want to talk, when I stop talking, that's because I don't want to act out in anger. So today we've got to start paying more attention to when we get upset, when we're bothered by something. Let's try to replace that anger with some love and understanding and some direction. Um, and I promise you, turning that anger into love will get way more results than sitting there going back and forth, back and forth. And for my standards, you'll definitely understand that. When that spouse is super upset with you and they're lashing out at you, just love on them more. I promise you, the more you love on them, the less they're going to be upset because they can't argue with somebody that's not arguing with them. Then they're going to be wondering, well, why? What's going on? Why is she doing this? Why is she saying that? Why isn't she doing anything? Why isn't she saying anything? I can't get her upset for nothing. No, because we love you. So today, choose love over sin. And of course, like I said, next week we'll counteract all of our sins with the fruit of the Spirit. But this week, we're starting with our sins because we have to cleanse ourselves out. We have to find where that anger is coming from, whether it's rape or molestation or hurt, denials, letdowns, wherever that hurt is coming from, approach it and attack it today. Get you a journal and write down all of your feelings, everything that causes you to be angry. Write it down and then burn it. And I challenge you to go a step further. If it's someone that's hurt you, write them a letter. Do not expect a response because you're not doing it for a response. You're doing that to release anger. You're just saying, I forgive you for the ways that you've hurt me. And then you're going to use that, send that, and you're going to use that as your closure and your removal of all that hurt and pain that's causing all that anger so you can get it up out of you. So don't forget to share, send it around. Remember, forever and always, I love you guys. Until next time, remember we're on 3. We've got 4 more sins to go before we start learning how to replace it with all the good stuff. And I hope that you guys are just as excited about learning all these different little things that I'm learning as well, because God knows it's helping me, it's growing me, and it's making me a better person every day. So love you guys. Talk to you later.